Before I get started, I do want to take a moment to recognize Leighton Johnson, who along with Regina and Joe Shikatano and the entire SBIRP team have worked tirelessly towards this initiative and the events that will kick off today, but also in a number of initiatives that are concurrently underway. Many of you may not realize that today's platform is just in the midst of a series of significant events, each tied to another dimension of advancing our regional economy and bringing these resources to the region. So we are incredibly fortunate to have a team as dedicated as the SBIRP team is. I know they're working around the clock often, and they advance us, the entire region. We are a better region because of them. So I want to say thank you. So here's a scene taken from in a manufacturing facility not too far from here. And it's a scene that is probably familiar to many of you, not the least of which because it's in places like this that 40% of our economy in the region occurs. It's notable as well that you'll see that the region's legacy and craftsmanship continues to inspire a flavor of production and work that is heavily reliant upon the skills of working with your hands and more of a detailed manual labor. And that's notable and characteristic of the region. When you talk to regional business leaders and folks in manufacturing across the board, what we hear is that they're facing the most complex business climate of their lives, not just their careers, of their lives. So you layer on top of COVID and all of that, the myriad of issues that has brought, having to become an amateur epidemiologist and sort out some of the most complex HR issues and policies. They're also facing headwinds tied to inflation, supply chain disruption, spiky demand up and down, and a tight labor market. All this, of course, in the face of an increasingly digital economy. And so, but at the same token, because we're in this rebound moment, there's an incredible opportunity. And they see this moment for growth. But how do they meet that growth? Do you just scale? Do you just keep adding more people, extending shifts and trying to hire more people? Well, what they know is by doing that, you're just exacerbating some of the challenges you've encountered with the tight labor market. Now you're seeing issues in terms of higher rates of turnover and some of the concerns about quality and employer burnout. So it's very evident, right, that we can't meet the needs of today or tomorrow with the means of the past. And that really does set a ceiling on us as a region. And so we need to look at some ways to address these differently if we're going to continue to thrive. So we have the strength in manufacturing, but we also have, as many of you know, we boast a region with 9 colleges and universities and a myriad of tremendous workforce training and education providers. That's a real gift. We are endowed with both these innovation assets as well as this deep base in manufacturing, right? These are the 2 drivers of our economy. They set the pace and they will inform the trajectory of where we go as a region. What would it mean to leverage them together? What would it mean to bring them together in a way that benefits both? We'll give an illustration of that. About a year ago, same company, by the way, that where that photo was taken earlier, engaged Industry Labs, which is one of the new dimensions of LIFT we'll speak to in a moment, to look at one of their key production processes and look at opportunities there to pursue some operational innovation and create a more efficient process because they were facing a huge demand crunch and had to find a way to be more efficient. The team working on that effort identified a roadmap that included everything from process improvements to opportunities to employ new technology to areas for upskilling. And that roadmap was shortly followed up with a series of technical projects and engagement where members of Industry Labs were working with and inside Smokercraft, helping them implement some of these things that were identified in the roadmap. That also led to an opportunity where the InFocus Industry Innovation Fellows, which were again another new initiative through LIFT, to apply on behalf of Smokercraft for a matching grant with the state of Indiana to apply for to obtain capital equipment that will advance the technology and the processes again in that production line. Now there's also a collaboration underway with students from the industrial design courses at Notre Dame, looking at consumer preferences and how that informs product design. All this together, sort of in this notion of a sustained, strategic, integrated partnership. We've yet to meet a business that has just a technology issue, right? There's a strategy issue, there's a people issue, there's a skills issue, and a technology issue. And this is why LIFT was created. So just briefly here on that first initiative, we identified a potential 20% increase in productivity for that one dimension. And this is just scratching the surface a year in. Imagine what this looks like across the region. And as we actually get into all of the dimensions of what's possible through LIFT. So Regina mentioned LIFT, and to further introduce it, it's the Labs for Industry Futures and Transformation. We are fortunate, as Regina mentioned, that the Lilly Endowment saw in us the vision of what it could be to bring together the manufacturing sector and our educational and innovation assets. What could that mean for our economy? And through the support of a $42 million transformative gift, that created an opportunity to create this consortium. So LIFT itself, what is it? It's a consortium of colleges, universities, workforce, and education providers working around a common goal to advance the region, particularly to improve the productivity, skills, and resilience in the regional economy. What we have here on the left is all of the many assets and resources in the community. And a big part of LIFT implicitly is how do we map that and make it really simple for companies to take advantage of it, right? Because we have so many resources, let's streamline those paths and make it very evident where those resources exist and help embed those in the companies themselves. The goals have been shared earlier, really tie around those common themes of both advancing regional industry, helping to infuse best practices and technologies, giving the companies in the region a competitive edge, and helping them play in an increasingly global marketplace. Those solutions themselves are going to lead to identification of new technologies. Those technologies can become commercialized, become new companies, and help expand our economy as well, create some new opportunities. This also ties to strengthening and leveraging the relationships between our education assets and the companies. And then this piece at the end of really working towards a systemic workforce training and talent recruitment platform. And that really is, of course, the subject of the forum today. LIFT can be best understood, perhaps, through four categories, right? So you have the enabling infrastructure, which are those new and expanded facilities, equipment, and expertise that have been developed at the institutions around the region that align to the identified needs of industry and those anticipated sort of emerging needs. So we'll get into further in some specifics of what that infrastructure is. But I think a key point here is that not only are there activities underway today, LIFT is investing in our future. This is invested for the long haul. And we're establishing that platform, that capacity that will further scale and create a venue to support the expansion of the region. Industry innovation, this involved the development of an entire new platform at the university, Industry Labs, which is the university's platform for collaboration with local industry that not only provides strategic and technical advisory services, but also matching to all of the both new and existing labs and facilities and expertise at the university to help companies give them that competitive advantage. In the experiential learning, that ties a lot to the development of the future workforce with talent recruitment, expanding the very popular and successful InFocus program into the Industry Innovation Fellows, so it's considerably scaling its size, as well as the LIFT internship program, and more industry-facing courses coming through the University of Notre Dame. And then on the digital workforce skill side, right, the apprenticeship program and the accelerator fund. And if you think about it, this is a way, again, to support the advancement of our existing industry, help spur the future growth of new emerging sectors, and make sure that we have the skills to meet both current and future opportunities. Just a double click in the facilities, because that's a tangible thing. It's something that you may drive past or walk past and say, you know, how is this related to LIFT? The part of the grant was able to provide some enabling funds to help support ultimately what will be $70 million of new capital facilities and equipment, again, aligned to support the region and be a unique resource for the region to support the industry partners and to advance education. I think what's notable here is that it's very impressive. Many of these were ideas, right, in 2019. And we've got ribbon cuttings, right, now happening now, which is really exciting. So that, again, this capacity is being built and opening up. So with the, one of the earliest ones to open up was the Elkhart Area Career Center's Engineering Tech and Innovation building. But now, this fall, we've got the opening of the Garatoni Center, formerly the iFlex Lab at Ivy Tech, the Engineering Innovation Hub at Notre Dame, as well as the launch of the Applied Analytics and Emerging Technologies Lab. There's additional resources being implemented at the Purdue Polytech campus at the Renaissance District. Many of you have been guests in SBIRP's LIFT Innovation and Training Facility, among others. So these are coming online, and again, that's notable in terms of where we're headed with LIFT. What's the theory of change? How does LIFT operate? Well, again, the two takeaways here or themes being, one, new work comes from old work, and if there were a sort of underscored thesis for LIFT, it's that we need to help the region produce higher value-added goods through higher value-added processes, right? So going back to that image of the gentleman in working in the factory with the glue gun and his hands in, providing bolts, we need to be able to look at ways that we equip him and his colleagues in ways that they're leveraging technology to produce things at higher value and doing it through higher value-added processes. So the portfolio of systems, resources, new facilities offered through LIFT are in service to the region's manufacturing base. And that manufacturing base itself will help develop new products, new services, help increase the payroll and higher wages with these companies. That then leads to our manufacturing base being the sort of best version of itself, right? And helping to really be globally competitive in this smart manufacturing hub. At the same time, it will spawn those solutions, those technologies, those partnerships are going to spawn new companies, right? Because every manufacturing issue is a data issue now, right? It's a technology issue. So as you look to address those challenges, that will create new opportunities for the region. What that looks like, just to give an example, and absolute caveat here that this predated and happened really outside of LIFT, but in many ways, this example is one that helped inform the vision for what LIFT can be for the region. Maybe familiar with the company iTamco. They're based in Marshall County. On their own initiative, they sought out in between 2008 and 2014 to engage with a number of the innovation assets in the region. And those partnerships led first to the development of Atlas 3D, which is a software tied to additive manufacturing, which subsequently, I believe, is licensed and has become a new company, as well as most recently Simba Chain, which is a blockchain as a service company, right? So not only is iTamco as a manufacturer part of our industrial base, a company that owes its roots back to Studebaker, has now become this advanced, it's sort of a smart manufacturing company in its own right. It's helped spawn two new companies that have a lot of promise and a lot of growth. And that's the vision for LIFT. How this maps, Leighton asked me to speak to what this impact is and maybe how this ties back to the broader goals of the region. You heard Regina speak to the North Star, right, for SBIRP in the REDS plan, the Regional Economic Development Strategies plan. And it tied to the increasing per capita personal income in the region to reach national, the sort of on parity with the nation in 2025. LIFT, the programs, the services, the design of LIFT is one that is aimed towards increasing productivity. And by that, we're looking at what's the value add per worker. And that reflects an increase in skills, an increase in higher value added processes and technology, as well as products that have a higher degree of quality and market capture. And that you'll see is that productivity is highly correlated with, you don't have to go through all the little dots on the graph. Essentially, what the point of the graph is that productivity is highly correlated with compensation. So LIFT provides us a vehicle to which to help reach that broader North Star for the region. And what's really important here is that it's a macroeconomic initiative, but it's enacted at the level of the person and the company, right? So the gains that each individual realizes, the gains within each household ultimately map back up to the gains for the region. In terms of just some selected outputs associated with the LIFT initiative and the LIFT network, again, going back to those 4 broad categories, you mentioned before the new facilities. So leveraging around 10 million of the grant has gone towards 70 million in new construction, new facilities, equipment, and expertise, again, to help support the advancement of the region. Got 140 projects between industry labs and local industry. I think 45 already, 43 have been completed, but we're continuing. And again, that pace and the impact is going to scale. The 50 federal and state grant applications applied on behalf of companies in the region. And this ties to things like the smart manufacturing grants, which have been so popular. Getting matching funds for companies to help them acquire new equipment to advance their technologies. 300 internships through a matching program that SBIRP oversees that pairs students from all of the region's colleges and universities, as well as students who may go to school elsewhere, but who live in the region with companies over the summer with a matching stipend and social and housing support. The expansion of InFocus, as well as expansion of the interaction between the coursework at a number of fields and disciplines at Notre Dame with companies in the region. And then we get to the apprenticeships, which I don't want to steal the thunder for the rest of the day, but that's certainly something that is a highlight and a key goal within LIFT. And it's not just the apprenticeships themselves, but the companies that establish this program. Because again, this is about building for the long haul and helping the companies establish the programs within themselves to continue and grow these apprenticeships. Again, will be an enduring legacy for LIFT. And then well over 2,000 certifications and credentials associated with new programs being offered across the region. We know so often that the pace of skills, the pace of the economy requires skills that may not require an entire new degree, but there are other ways that folks can acquire these skills that really have an impact both in their careers and within their companies. Just a selection of the partner snapshot of companies that have been a key part of this in this initial phase. 25 individual companies have engaged on more than one project already, and we certainly look to scale even further through this engagement. But this is something that, again, requires and it is a collaboration. This is not something where anyone from any of the LIFT related entities is going to a company and saying, this is how you need to do it. It's rather we're working side by side, partnering with them, helping them to work through these issues and identify the best resources to advance in the economy. So why this matters? One of the business leaders in the region talks about what's our right to win? What are some of the unique characteristics that we have as a region that we can unlock that really create a stronger future? And one interesting attribute is that we're in the smallest, if not one of the smallest markets that features a tier 1 research university. And yet we're also uniquely in one where you have that situation embedded in a manufacturing center, one of the densest concentrations of manufacturing in the country. So there's an opportunity there to have a disproportionate advantage on both sides, right? So the benefits will accrue disproportionately in industry, and vice versa. The opportunities for that to really enrich education are disproportionate if we bring these things together. It also means that we're particularly vulnerable too, right? So that if we don't take advantage of that, that's a big chunk of our economy that's at risk. So this matters, and it means that the benefits that accrue with the advanced processes, the new technologies, companies being able to take advantage of all that's involved in the digital transformation, it means a better quality of work for those there. You know, so much of the work that's undertaken in the region is an acts of wear and tear, right? The manual labor, it does have a cost to it. And creating a better work environment, among other things, and creating new opportunities for people in their households because of their increased earning capacity are really critical for this region. It helps certainly support that flywheel for talent attraction as we create more and more compelling jobs and economic opportunities, which in turn helps companies themselves grow. And we like to say that it also creates a competitive advantage for companies here in the region. So the takeaways here, one, Industry Labs and Lift are a resource for you and for this region, right? All the organizations represented here, the companies that are here, this is a resource for you. And frankly, the success of it will be measured by your success, the success of the companies and ultimately the households in the region. That's how we'll know that this has had an impact. And I think it's also important to note that this is very action oriented. So we want to get things going, as you've seen with some of the earlier projects, but we're also invested in the long haul. So the new facilities, the new capabilities being put into place, some of which are just coming online, are creating a capacity to really have to snowball and have a much greater impact for the long haul for the region. So that, thank you. Thanks very much.